you were looking for career advice from a career coach, and he had led teams that have placed over 6,000 pros in 21 industries, worked at the largest Fortune 500 recruitment firm in the world, was responsible for over $50 million of placements of executives, and was one of the top recruiters recognized nationally while serving in the United States Army, you'd probably say he's qualified. This is the Executive Career Upgrades Podcast. Career competition is fierce. If you're a director, a VP, or an executive, this podcast is for you. This is the Executive Career Upgrades Podcast. And this is your host, Tim Madden.
How is everybody doing? Happy New Year. Hey, welcome to the Executive Career Upgrades Podcast with your hosts, Tim and Kristina Madden. Hey, if you don't know us, we help those targeting six figures or multiple six figures land jobs they love quickly. And that's what we're talking about today. But before we get into the topic, hey, we go live each week inside the Executive Career Network. We are approaching 10,000 members from across the country that are directors, VPs, and executive. We share best tips, best practices. We network, we collaborate. Check us out. We're on Facebook. To my knowledge, Kristina, we are the largest on Facebook, right? Have you seen any other groups bigger?
I could be a little biased, but I think we're the biggest. We're the fastest growing.
Excellent. Hey, if you're watching us live in the Executive Career Network right now, say hi below. We see you. Also to our friends over on LinkedIn and on YouTube, we are checking the comments on every platform. And we know that most of our listeners come from Spotify and iTunes. So if you are re-watching this podcast, hey, we got some great tips for you today. Do me a favor, as always, if you're watching on iTunes, YouTube, Spotify, hey, if we give you anything valuable today, which I know we will, hey, share this with a friend, share this with a family member, share this with a business associate who's looking to accelerate their career this year. And of course, leave us a review to help get the message out. Hey, before we get started.
Oh my gosh, is this the first podcast of the year of 2023?
It is, yes.
Well,
I believe I did one. Yes. I did one, right before the holidays where I talked about habits. So this is it. This is the big one. So I want to, well, before we get into it, we always want to say offers. As regardless of what, anything's going on in the media, I want to say this again. We had the same amount of people hired. We enrolled the same amount of clients in Q4. We had the same amount of offers we had in Q3, right? So regardless of, 75 tech layoffs, et cetera. Hey, we have seen the same amount of professionals hired in Q3 than in Q4. And let's be honest, Q1's the most exciting time because if you're trying to change, right, your life, your career, et cetera, hey, this is when companies hire the most. Budgets are approved, they're forecasting strategic goals, and they need leaders just like you. Congrats to the 6 people on Christmas week, right, that got offers inside the ECU program. But let's get started today. But first, of course, hey, if you need help in your career this year, right, to get the job and money that you deserve, you've been thinking about it for a while, you've been unemployed for a while, you don't know where to start, right? Success needs support. Go on over to execupgrades.com/podcast, schedule a call with our enrollment team so we can go over your specific situation and see, where the gaps are, how we can help so you can get the job you love in Q1. Let's get started, Kristina. Episode 64. Hey, don't just dream about your dream job. Don't just dream about your goals. Take action to make it a reality. And I just want to say one thing, Kristina, and I know, and then I'm going to shut up because you're like, geez, Tim, geez. Hey,
Story
guys,
of my life, guys.
Before we get started today, let me raise this desk up a little bit if you're watching live. Hey, before we get started today, I want to let you in. Kristina's really going to go probably a little deeper into tip number 1, which is, talking about a positive mindset and habits. Before we get started, before we talk about anything we're going to talk about today, I want to let you know the number 1 tip that I don't think I've ever shared with you before that really helped Tim Madden, right, over a decade ago, land a job he loves at a Fortune 500 company. The number one thing I did every day, forget your resume, forget how you're branded, your interview, forget all of that stuff. I wrote it down every single day. I wrote it down and I said, hey, I work at a Fortune 500. I work at one of the largest staffing and recruiting firms in the world. And I do this, this, and this, and I help people do this, and I help people do that. I wrote that down every freaking day. That is the number one thing. Because here's why. You get what you put your attention on. And it's so easy to be sidetracked. Even today, me and Kristina, are you busy today? You got a couple things going on?
Yeah, I barely landed on
goals, Kristina. I know you wrote your goals down for 2023. But how easy is it to get freaking sidetracked on the crap that, you got to do, but is not going to move your life forward? Right? So my biggest tip for you today is if it's important to you, write it down. Otherwise, it will never happen. Kristina, you want to, go over some more stuff that you think is valuable about habits and having just that powerful mindset as we approach like the new year?
Yeah. I mean, guys, ask yourself, there's things you've been dreaming about since you were a kid, right? Every year you're dreaming about something new and different. And I can just tell you from over the years of making things happen, making my dreams happen is the one thing that sets people apart that make those dreams happen. And the people that can't seem to make those dreams happen is the action. So what dreams have you had since you were a little kid even that you can't make happen? It's just, you think it's some just lofty dream that's impossible for you. You're just so unique and so troubled and so broken that it can't happen for you. The only thing standing between you and that goal or vision is action. So I'll share with you also in terms of tip number one, like Tim said, which is having a powerful mindset. Yeah, that sounds great, but you're thinking, well, how does one really do that? How do I get better and better at that every day? And I'll just share with you from working with thousands of executives that it is an extremely common misconception that mindset are just for these like special people, that it's for, the ultra successful, the rich, the famous, whatever. And the truth is it's for everyone, and it is your powerful tool, and you will get nowhere without it. Without working on it. And that's, again, a lifelong journey. You never arrive. You'll never hear me say I'm a master of my mindset. I'm a master at vision or attraction. No, it is a practice and it's a work of art. And so that's what having a powerful mindset is. So just ask yourself, have I been thinking that that's just for these special influencers I see online? Is it just for these special leaders in corporate America that you think just landed there by chance? No, it's mindset, right?
Well, Kristina, I want you to bring up a very important topic that we were talking about a couple of days ago. Our mentors, guys. Guys, these are some people doing some really big things. And we're excited to go to Scottsdale to spend some time with them next week in Arizona. But hey, even them have imposter syndrome. Guys, these people are worth hundreds of millions of dollars, maybe billions of dollars. I'm not actually sure where they fall. Kristina, do you want to go over what that person posted on their Instagram about being all the things?
Hey, and don't even get me started on this topic. I'm very, very excited about this, right? Imposter syndrome over the years, what I've noticed is it's a true plague. Okay. And you have to get up and decide every single day that you're going to win the battle with that, because unless you can get really comfortable with the fact that that's going to show up every single day for you, you're kind of living in a fantasy land. Just as Tim mentioned, some of the most successful people still struggle with it. One of the mentors he's talking about said, hey, I'm going to use my fear as my superpower instead of my, demise. And I'm going to face these fears really head on and figure out, why am I scared of it? And B, most of the reason why I'm scared of it is because I just haven't developed the skill set enough to really face it head on and sort it out. So that's something to think about. What are the things you're scared of that are creating imposter syndrome? Have you faced it? And really the only thing standing in between you and feeling better about that is developing the mindset and the skill set to overcome it. There were actually some very vulnerable fears on that post, which I also thought was really cool. So we're at a time of the year, right, where everybody's thinking, oh, I have to set all these New Year's resolutions. And I'll tell you, yes, goal setting Great. Love it. But it's been years since I've said the word resolution. I don't think that ever came out of my mouth this year, certainly not last year, because I just know I'm somebody who wants to show up every day for my goals, right? So let's throw that resolution thing out the window for just a minute. Some people need it who are just beginning with goals and do that, right? But I encourage everybody to flip that. Let's reverse engineer that and say, okay, what do I want my identity to be? What is the kind of person I want to be? And I'll throw out some of mine, okay, right? Entrepreneur, writer, content creator. I want to have a net worth of $1 million by XYZ date. And now I can look at that and say, okay, what does that person do every single day? The action steps to make that dream a reality. So as I'm moving through my day, I look at it and I'm like, am I currently doing an action that is of the identity of that person that I want to do? And yes, there's going to be down times. Yes, it's not going to always be sexy, but also you can throw fit on that list. If I'm not creating a nice meal, if I'm not working out, if I'm not doing revenue generating activities, if I'm not working on my relationships, doing something to move me toward those goals, you're not going to get to that identity. So throw resolution out. Let's focus on who you want to be and how to become that.
I'm glad you said that. And I have a couple of comments. Guys, we're going to spend a little bit of time on number one because it's the most important, right? So many people say this. In 2023, I'm going to. They're going to fail. Just like Kristina said, when you're talking about changing your identity, I got 2 examples that I wrote down. And it's in the book Atomic Habits. I told all of our clients, hey, reread that book if you haven't read it in a while, and definitely read that book if you haven't. But they said, hey, for people that say I'm a smoker and I'm trying to quit, right? If I go to Kristina and she like offers me a cigarette, by the way, guys, we don't smoke. But if she did and I said, oh, I'm trying to quit, I'm still identifying myself as a smoker. When you say, no, I don't smoke.
Or I hope I can quit. I hope I can quit.
Yeah. Or when you say, I want to run a marathon, you're setting yourself up for failure. It really needs to be deep down, which, by the way, I know I say that to you guys, but deep down, here's what I'm telling myself. Hey, I am a runner. I am a runner. Because here's what happens, and here's where I have failed tremendously in my life. I have set targets, and I know Kristina has too. We are both need some significant improvement in this area, and we're working it out. We're really good about getting our targets, but then what happens when we reach our target? We kind of get lost a little bit. So the biggest epiphany I had last year when I turned 38, right after spending all this time in the military, all this education, all these businesses, was this: when you set a target and you achieve that target, the worst thing you can do is rest on your laurels and praise yourself. And I ran a marathon and I did all this, and I'm going to go back to doing the same crap I was doing. Okay. So my best advice for you too is, say you're that person. Let me go back to that original analogy, because I actually messed up. I said, hey, I work at this job. I work at this job. I work at this job. And I got that job. And what happened? I stayed there and I was kind of like lost. So when you reach a goal too, immediately set another goal. Okay.
Or if it's something like working out, just for example, it's hey, you know what? Instead of saying I'm going to lose 30 pounds, say I'm going to try to, I am going to work out 4 days a week, every day for the rest of my life. This is my life. This is my lifestyle now. Because these classic fat to skinny stories, and sorry, I'm not body shaming anyone. We're all on our journey, and I'm certainly not skinny. But the classic fat to skinny story. How many times do those skinny people lose that 30 pounds? Then they're back out drinking margaritas, having pizza every weekend, and they're cleaning it back. And all that does is gives your brain evidence that you can't do it. I'm telling you, you're not going to be able to keep clawing your way out. And who wants to do that anyway? So that goes with every goal. So we've used fitness and diet because that's been a big focus of ours, but that's the same with leadership development. It's the same with your career search and who you want to be. It's who you are as a parent, a spouse. It's the same process.
So when you're thinking about obtaining new certifications or doing whatever this year, right? If you get that PMP, you need to immediately say, wow, that's awesome. I got that. Hey, what's next? What's next? What's next? Hey, I read this book, Atomic Habits. I got some good stuff. I'm going to implement it. Hey, what's next? How can I even further invest in myself, invest in my mindset, my confidence, my self-development? That's where I failed the majority of my life. I've been really good at setting targets and achieving them, and then kind of taking a break. And many areas of my life have just been like this through the years, right? Until it finally clicked.
I finally understand Grant Cardone when I used to think he was a psychotic maniac. And again, I'm not even saying, I know some of you know who this guy is. Everybody knows. Well, most people do. And I'm not saying you have to be at the extreme of Grant Cardone. He's like taking over the world here overnight. But I finally get it. I finally get why he always says, don't take your foot off the gas. Don't look away. Don't slow down. Don't let a day off your calendar, that you're not taking at least one action step towards your goals. Something really powerful one of his team members said to us last week was, you have to get in radical acceptance that things are not happening to you. They are happening because of you. Now, hear me out again. Listen to what I'm saying. This is not happening to me. It is happening because of me. Good or bad, whatever. This happened to be in a sales and marketing conversation. This is going to go for the people who are so scared they're never going to get a job because they're listening to all this narrative about the economy. This is for people who are maybe high-level sales and their conversations aren't going the way they want them to, and maybe they're not. Maybe everything's stalling. But you have to take massive responsibility that it is you, no matter what the outcome. I don't care. It doesn't matter. That's number one rule of leadership. It's your fault. Always. Always. So where in your life are you not taking responsibility? Now we're getting a little deep on here, right? Because you've got beginner goal setting, and then you've got, hey, no, it's fuck your excuses. And blame Ryan Stewman for my language there. But goal setting, and then on the other end of the spectrum is no more excuses. There's a solution for everything. I don't mean to start preaching here, but I don't care who you are, where you come from, poverty, anything. I don't care where you come from. There are solutions at your fingertips if you take responsibility and work on this.
Go ahead, Kristina.
No, go ahead. No, that was it.
Oh, and the final thing before we move on, right, is me and Kristina have been very blessed to meet some very amazing people that have done some very amazing things. And I'm just going to keep it real with you. They are average people, guys. They are average people. These Fortune 500 CEOs, they're average people.
Below average. They started below average.
Yeah. The biggest, I was even watching this football player that during high school, right? Every day, guys, he practiced. Every morning he practiced. On weekends, he would go to camps, and he says, hey, unfortunately, I didn't hang out with friends a lot. I didn't do a lot of things that normal high school people do, right? There's an extreme commitment that it's going to take from you. So you need to get really clear on what your goals are, because if you're trying to be the Fortune 500 people, you just have to follow the actions that they're doing and their readers, etc. So I just want to be honest with you and say, there is nothing different. These people don't have anything special comparatively to you, besides the podcast title today, that they take action every single day and they stay consistent with their goals. All right, let's move to number 2, Kristina. Hey, everyone's targeting different things. You need to figure out what it is for you. What's your next upward mobility move? Do you want to take on more responsibility, right? And you have to figure that out. And unfortunately, this is probably one of the most difficult things when we work with our clients. Because for me, as I'm, mentoring, transitioning military veterans, right? Because I do that frequently as they're transitioning. Everyone always asks me, hey, Tim, what should I do outside the military? And here's what I tell them. I say, hey, man, start a business. Start a business, buy a franchise, do this. That's my advice, right? So to each its own, right? Some of you are passionate about marketing in tech, etc. Some of you want to live in Minnesota. Some want to live in Florida. Some want to live abroad. You have to figure out what that is for you. And no one can tell you. No one can tell you what you should do. They can help you realize it. And that's what we do in the ECU program. We have exercises to be but they come into this program and they just kind of be just tell me what to do. Just tell me what I should do with my life. No one can tell you that. You have to figure that out for yourself. You need to sit down and ask yourself questions. Hey, do I want to take on more responsibility at work? Because it's probably going to come with more hours. Look, there ain't no CEO out there or COO at a company that's pushing, that's driving, that's working 40 hours a week. I'm sorry. It's just not freaking possible. There is no way I can do my job working 40 hours a week. There is no freaking way. No way. Because here's why. When I hire people, I push harder. That's what we do. Kristina like gets upset all the time when we hire people like, didn't you just hire someone for that? How are you still so busy? Because when I hire people and I get blocks on my calendar to do different stuff, I still keep pushing forward. Like I know who I am, right? Who are you? You have to determine that. Do you want to take on more responsibility? Do you want to change sectors? Do you want to mainly focus on a purposeful driven company that you're aligned with, right? Some people like video games. Some people like green, etc., electric cars, right? You have to figure this out for yourself. And that's really the first step. The first step is really making a commitment saying, I'm going to do it. Cool. Number 2, what are we going to do? You're going to have to figure that out for yourself. And there's only one way to do that is by asking yourself questions, right? What's important to you? Is it money? Is it remote? Is it work-life balance? Like, what is it? And no one can tell you what that should be for you. Any comments on that, Kristina?
Yeah. So aside from mindset, which it took us a little while to realize that, wow, okay, it's not deciding what you want to do for a job. It's not helping people land a job. Like, that's not what we're here. Like, we're here to do that. Like, that's what we do here. But we were like, whoa, in our first year of business, we're like, we have to go back to mindset. Like, this is all about mindset. That's why you hear us talk about it so much. That's why, it's not an option for our clients to not be working on their mindset, right? But this is the second biggest challenge. So we got the mindset, that was number 1. And the second biggest challenge is, how do I know what to do? Or what do I want to do? Or feeling like you are trapped maybe in one industry because that's where you've always been, or you're in this comfort zone, or you just don't believe you're worth it, or you don't think you can do it, whatever. Here's a great exercise to think about, right? Tim just named some things about like, hey, what's most important to you? A way to really think about this, and I was talking to Tim about this the other night, because you never want to be a drifter in life. So you do have to have some awareness around what's happening on a day-to-day basis and what's important to you, and it changes a lot. So do a quick exercise with yourself and ask yourself, what are your core values in life? I just actually wrote mine down. I'll share them with you. They're in my planner, which, by the way, most of my day planning is on a notebook, so you don't have to overthink this, but I did get a really cool one called the Day Designer, which you ladies would probably really appreciate. But some of my values, which could be a little different as an entrepreneur than it would be maybe somebody who is looking for a CEO level position in a company, but service, time freedom, financial freedom, my religion, spirituality, and family. So going based off that, now I can go off my top 5 strengths: influence, discipline, parenting, coaching, vision. And you can take those things that are most important to you and that are your strengths, get really firm on that with who you are, because those are some of the things you're going to examine within the culture of a company. Are you willing to move? How much time are you willing to give? What kind of teams do you want to be with? You probably want to be with teams that have some of these same values. So while Tim's kind of talking about the logistical side of what your role might look like, I would start here. I think Tim would agree. Let's start with some core values and then move out from there, because quite frankly, many of you have probably not had that conversation with yourself for a long time. It's easy to forget because we're so busy. Well, okay, your values and your passions don't matter anymore? No, let's think about that. Okay, so powerful mindset, knowing what you're targeting and how to think about how that works.
The next, hey, don't get overwhelmed. Create small daily targets that are non-negotiable. Okay, I think that's Kristina's word for the year, right? Isn't that true? Non-negotiable, or is that Robert's?
That might be Robert's. Mine is
truth. Yeah.
And so let me say something about that really, really quick. The reason why I chose that word truth is because whatever it is I'm convincing myself of in the moment, those are going to be the things that pull me out of having this great mindset, pulling me out of knowing what I want to target. And I want to be in a place where I'm looking for the truth. Where is there some truth here? What's the truth about myself and the world around me? That's why I chose that. Maybe that will resonate with some of you. What is true? It's not on the news. They're not telling you the truth. The president's not telling you the truth. Who's telling you the truth? What's the truth about yourself and the world? What's the truth? What's possible? All right, all you, Tim.
Creating these daily targets is so important, and you need to not be negotiating with yourself. This is how I failed for so many years. I would get laxed on things that I kind of knew were important, but I would just kind of push them to the side. That's a dangerous place to be, because if you've been listening to my different podcasts recently, I've told you via Ed Milet, and I love his books. He says this: if you can't keep the promises to yourself, you're going to be in a bad spot to ever build true self-confidence. So remember this: when you create these daily targets, and let me just give you a couple, right? Hey, I'm going to track 3 people down on LinkedIn that have open opportunities, and I'm going to tell them why I'm qualified and I can help their company. Hey, I'm going to post a couple things on LinkedIn. Hey, I'm going to do invest 15 minutes in my self-development. Hey, I'm going to make sure I get a workout in. These need to be I don't know what it is for you, right? You need to determine it, but you need to have daily targets. If you're just waking up in the morning, pondering through life, what do you think's going to happen? What happens when you don't have a plan? What happens when you don't have a plan in corporate America? Shit, what happens when you do have a plan in corporate America and shit still goes wrong? So think about this, right? Like, even with the plan, sometimes stuff gets jumbled. Because here's what happens. That day that you said you were going to go on an early run, the son, our child won't go to sleep and wants to wake up at 3:30 and be like, hey, Dad, let's stay up 3:30 to 6. What are you going to do that day?
He still got up and ran on that day last week. I was like, what the heck are you doing? And he's
and I'm like, hey, I'm not some special person with magical powers, but here's what I know. You got to do the things that you say you're going to do, regardless if you're tired, regardless if you don't have time, regardless if your kid's sick, regardless of if your tire's flat, regardless of anything. Right? So stop being don't negotiate with yourself. When you put something down, you execute on it. Period. Find time. Create time. Everyone, I don't have time. Dude, get up earlier, man. Because here's the reality. No one is bothering you at 6 o'clock in the morning.
No one's coming to save you in general. That's the cold, hard truth. No one is coming to save you. Everyone listening, just write it down. Put it on a Post-it, stick it somewhere. No one's coming to save me. I think as adults, that's a really hard truth.
Oh, no. I'm sorry. I have to interrupt you here because I want you to talk about Mel Robbins, because there was this phenomenal quote that says, when you're a child, you have adults, you have parents, right? Who say, Kristina, don't do this, don't do this. And when you become the adult, no one's the adult over you.
It sucks.
And that was like super powerful. Like, dude, no one's going to tell you that you need to do something, right?
And society is kind of wired that way a little bit if you pay attention, right? School, you have deadlines, classrooms, college the same way, military same way. They're certainly the boss of you, right? They say jump, you jump, and they say come, you come, right? So certain organizations and just the world is wired that way. At your job, it might even feel like an overbearing boss or whatever, and we tend to forget that we do have autonomy over our lives and our goals.
Even if you're in the military watching this, remember, you can only control what you can control. And if you're in the military and you're doing your duty and you're about to transition, hey, here's what I can't control. I'm at work from X to X. What can I control? What am I doing outside of work? Right? How are my daily targets happening now? Right? So number 3, I have for you, right? Set daily targets and don't negotiate with yourself. When you set something, you complete it. And if you set something and you don't complete it, guys, it's going to be a rough life. I recently did the 75 Hard program a couple months ago. Hey, you want to change your life? Start there, right? And one of the things is, drinking a gallon of water a day, reading books. You can check out the program. Go to 75hard.com, 75hard.com. But one of the things he says is, hey, if you start this program and you can't do this for 5 days, man, you can't drink a gallon of water for 5 days, guys. You can't read 10 pages of a book, right? You can't hold yourself accountable to eat semi-healthy or not have a beer for 5 days. Guys, how are you ever going to be a corporate leader? How are you going to coach and mentor people? That's the problem in corporate America today, right? So many people want to be the leader, but they don't want to show the actions of true leadership to truly coach and mentor people. So if you are someone, okay, that can't keep your damn promises to yourself, there is no freaking way You should be managing 300 freaking people and getting paid $300-400 grand a year. I'm sorry. Okay.
And I want to
hopefully that just hits you with some truth and reality, right? You can't keep promises to yourself. You want to manage $50 million budgets, customer success programs, all this stuff. Dude, you don't deserve it. And maybe that's the problem.
I just want to drive home again what Tim said. It is the only way to build confidence is to keep those promises to yourself, whatever they are. It's the only way. If you guys have a better way or something that's working for you, drop it in the comments. Email me, Kristina with a K @execupgrades.com. But there is no other way. There's no other way. And you'll notice it. It could be the small things.
We've said this before, and I know Grant said this. Guys, if there was an easy way, guys, we would have figured it out by now. We've read so many books, hundreds of books, 100 mentorship programs, masterminds, events, business conferences. Hey, if there was some secret hack or some pill, hey, it would have already been discovered. There isn't. It's about making good decisions to push you forward every single day and holding yourself accountable. And hey, something that's helped me recently that we don't have here is I have accountability partners. Right? I have our VP of marketing at ECU, Raquel. Hey, I appreciate you. And Robert, who's one of our coaches here. Hey, we're doing running and we're working out every single day. Every single day. We are in a group chat saying, I got my run done. I got this. And today I didn't even share it with Robert, who's probably watching right now. Robert decided to run super fast today. And it was supposed to be a slow run day. So it even pushed me to say, dude, I can't run slow today. So I was out there freaking pushing myself. And at the end, I was like, hey, and I popped it in the chat and we all got motivated. So, hey, have an accountability partner, right?
And I know these 3 individuals, right? Again, we're going to go back to saying these are average people. And listen, I say that because I know what their pain points are. I know what their weaknesses are, but they have made a decision. So speaking of Raquel, Robert, and Tim, I am essentially, I'm just blown away by their commitment to this running. Now, Raquel wasn't even a runner, guys. So listen, we go back to this because we're just so passionate about it, especially when it comes to being committed to your fitness goals. I think I lost 45 pounds in the last 6 months because I just made a decision. I had to rework my relationship with food. And in fact, guys, I'm just totally disgusted with American culture and food. We'll go down that rabbit hole another day. But if you can't rework your relationship with time, with your food, with your energy, with your people, with people that don't belong in your circle of influence, and start reworking some of this stuff, you're in trouble. And I know some of us live and die by our Google calendars, which is all tech, right? I really do encourage you to get somewhere where you're writing down the handful of things during the day that are those non-negotiables, because your time is going to be slipping and things are going to change, just like Tim said. So have that thing written down, just in a notebook every day.
Yeah, absolutely. So, hey, this is the message we wanted to deliver you today, right? A lot of the time, hey, you can go and check, hey, go on over to Apple Podcasts or Spotify Podcasts and check out all of our episodes on LinkedIn content, resume, what should I be targeting? How much money should I make? How do I convert interviews to offers? Hey, we got lots of great content on there for you today, but please just follow me for a sec. This is the most important because I read something that just clicked and I shared it with Kristina. It was a video of a young girl that said, hey, for so many years, of course, when New Year's came around, of course I wanted to get in shape. Of course I wanted to get a new job and make more money and have a bigger impact. Of course I wanted to eat healthy. Of course I wanted to do all these things. And there's 1,000 ways to do it online. Don't tell me there isn't a million things of how to get your finances straight for free on Google. Fitness programs, meal prep. The problem is not the lack of information. And Tony Robbins says this all the time.
Not in 2023, lack of information. That's gone.
It's not about, it's about being resourceful and taking action. The information is out there. So what are you going to do after this podcast? You're going to go back to doing the same stuff that maybe hasn't worked for you? What kind of results are you going to get? Are you going to make a commitment today to have a powerful mindset? Okay. Really think about something that can get you excited and start setting these daily targets so you can actually get somewhere this year. Otherwise, you're going to get more of the same. And here's what I know. If you're not moving up, you're moving back. And if you're staying stagnant in your career, you're going to be depressed, you're going to have anxiety, and you're going to be frustrated. So you get to choose this year. That's the beauty. And what Kristina was going to say is no one's coming to make this happen for you. It's up to you. Kristina, any closing comments as we wrap up?
If you are somebody, that needs support, please reach out. Please reach out. Like if this really hit home for you, but you're about to just shut this podcast and hit play again on Netflix or go back to scrolling, get some help, get some insight. Now, while all of this is up to you, what we've talked about, and it comes down to you, we tell our clients this every day. This is a partnership. We can't do this without you. We can't do this without you busting your ass and making some choices. But if you're somebody sitting there and you're like, I want to do the things they're talking about. Like, I want to create something new for real this time. This podcast helped me. Reach out. Again, success needs support.
Absolutely.
Get some insight. And stop listening to the world. Stop listening to it.
For the longest time, I tried to do everything on my own because I was just freaking hard-headed, right? And now, man, Kristina, do we not have a coach for anything in our lives? Guys, when it comes to parenting, when it comes to relationships, when it comes to fitness, when it comes to business, when it comes to advertising, when it comes to, man, I literally think we have like everything covered almost, right? Why is that? Right.
It's because where I've landed at with that is like, I refuse to not know everything that I can know about a pain point in my life and have as much information as possible so I can sleep at night and feel comfortable that I have done everything I can to excel in these areas. Is it exhausting? Fucking A, it is. I'm up till like 1, 2 in the morning sometimes reading about certain like things that go on with our child or, whatever. Like, am I going to find out the right herb to heal our gut? And I've had us on like a 12-month or 15-month protocol. I'm going to force that down everyone's throat in my family, in my house. I'm going to, whatever I can do. Like it's in my nature maybe, but like I had to develop that desire to reach for more because we are living in a world that will suppress you more and more and more. You have to push and push and push. So if you tried to lose 10 pounds in the last couple months and that didn't happen, okay, well, why the hell not? If it was the diet, if your hormones are out of whack, go get that test, go get some more insight, keep going, please. I never thought I'd be sitting here preaching, but just please keep going. And if anything else, take this as a message of hope that you don't have to live the way you're living right now. I know it's a stressful time for some people, and I know people have stories, and I know there's death, and there's tragedy, and there's divorce, and there's bankruptcy, but are you going to stay there? We only have so much time on this earth, so just pick your destiny.
Closing comments is, hey, you get what you put your attention on. If you're saying it's never going to happen and all of that, etc., hey, you're right. So, hey, get some help. Whatever you're trying to do in 2023, hey, get some help to help you achieve your goals. And if it's career related, hey, we're the best. Do the research. Go to execupgrades.com/podcast. Hey, truly, hey, wanted to have an episode where we kicked off 2023. Hopefully we motivated and inspired you to, hey, just keep pushing, just get a little bit better each day. And we'll see you next week. Have a great one.